Hello, everybody. We are on week 6 of Block Eats, our intuitive eating cycle. So, in previous weeks, we've referred to emotional eating and we've talked about how it gets its own week. Well, we are here. This week, we are going to talk about emotional eating and the principle cope with your emotions with kindness. So, before we can talk about true emotional eating, we have to talk about the physical and biological consequences of food restriction. We did talk about this some in week 1 as well, but dieting, strict diet plans, restriction, as well as food insecurity, war, famine, those kinds of things will cause the body to fight back. This, in and of itself, can cause us to feel out of control around food or like we are emotional eaters. That's what we have to start by rejecting the diet mentality, making peace with food, and practice actually feeling our hunger and fullness. So if you hold your breath as long as you can, and then when you are totally out of air, your next breath will not be calm. It will be frantic. And this happens with food too. We call it compensatory eating. After any sort of restriction, often what our bodies want to do is compensate for the fact that it hasn't been fed by eating more. This is why sometimes time restricted eating or intermittent fasting doesn't work for people. When you get to your eating window, you tend to eat more and maybe make less healthy food choices than if you had just eaten all day long because your body's trying to compensate for the restriction. So that is a physical reaction to restricting food, and that can make us feel out of control. I would also like to challenge you if you're somebody who says, I'm an emotional eater, take the identity part out of it. So instead of saying, I am an emotional eater, say, I have dealt with emotions with food in the past, but I'm open to learning new tools. Now, eating is inherently emotional. How do we celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, promotions? What do we do after a breakup or a hard day at work? We are all emotional eaters. Those two things will forever and always be linked. But we can pay attention to it and add new strategies into our lives to support healthier eating and healthier relationships with food and better ways to manage our emotions. So we have practiced feeling our hunger, which I like to call belly hunger, and the cues that are unique to you. And also, hopefully, we've been practicing feeding our body when it's hungry so it can trust us that it will always be fed. But sometimes we do have an emotional hunger. So we want to eat even though we don't have belly hunger. And we do this for lots of reasons. One reason is sensory gratification. We talked about how satisfaction is so important last week. And if you're not eating foods that satisfy you when you're hungry, you are more likely to seek out sensory gratification when you're not really belly hungry. This happens to me when I like meal prep on Sunday for the whole week and I pack like really healthy, bland, boring foods and I forget to make it satisfying enough for me. So I eat my meal and then I'm full and then I still sneak over to the neighboring classroom to get some of their snack because I just don't feel satisfied. I want that sensory gratification. So making sure you're having satisfaction in your meal can help keep you from eating when you're not belly hungry. We also eat for comfort. This is often tied to our childhood, and comfort foods can absolutely be a part of healthy relationships with food. But if food is the very first thing that comes to mind, or is the only thing in your toolbox to comfort you when you're sad or lonely or uncomfortable, it can keep you from getting to the core of your feelings, and it can keep you in an unhealthy relationship with food. Now, a lot of us use food as a distraction. Sometimes we're distracting from our feelings because, I mean, let's be honest, experiencing our feelings 24 hours every day can be exhausting. And sometimes you need to box up your feelings and deal with it later. This is especially true if you're a parent or a teacher parent. But again, if food is the only tool in your toolbox, you need to start working on adding new strategies. We often eat out of boredom or procrastination. It's probably the most common reason to eat when we're not belly hungry. We're just bored. It fills the time, or it can make a boring task more pleasurable because food is pleasurable. I told a story about going to the kitchen in my classroom for a snack, even though I wasn't belly hungry. And really, I just needed a break. So that fits in there as well. We often use food as bribery and as a reward. Again, this often starts in childhood and absolutely no judgment. Parenting is the hardest thing on the planet. So if you need to give your kid a cookie to be quiet once in a while, I totally get it. But sometimes we take that strategy into adulthood and we bribe ourselves to do things or we reward ourselves. Oh, that was a really hard workout. I deserve this food. Food can add excitement to your life. The funny thing is, diets also add excitement to life. You get excited about a new diet plan, and the hopes of losing weight or getting healthier or whatever, and then it fails, and then it sets up this reoccurring cycle. We use food to self soothe, and we use food to self soothe because it works. For most of us, it is a very accessible thing. And it's not that you should never use foods to self soothe, but it might be worth it to explore other ways to soothe yourself. Food is also connected to love. First date dinners, Valentine's Day, breakfast in bed. Food may have been your parents' only way of showing love. So, food and emotions are forever tied. Sometimes when we're frustrated, that anger and rage can get worked out by eating something, especially like crunchy, bitey foods to release those intense feelings. We use food when we're under stress or anxiety, if we're mildly depressed. Food is a way to be connected with others. And again, intuitive eating is not asking that you never use food as a way of connection or showing your love. It's just asking that you become aware of it. And it asks you if you can find some other ways of coping with your emotions. So, what we need to do when we're ready to eat a snack or a food is ask, am I biologically hungry? Do I have belly hunger? And if you've been developing that interoceptive awareness, hopefully you're able to say, yeah, I'm actually belly hungry, or oh. So if you're actually biologically hungry, easy, eat. If you're not, then you can ask the question, okay, what am I feeling? You can journal about it, call a friend, sit and try to feel that feeling. I know that's really scary. We're grown-ups, we can do hard things. And once you kind of identify what you're feeling, is it boredom? Is it stress? Are you procrastinating doing something? Once you sort of identify the feeling, then you can ask myself, okay, what do I need? If I'm stressed, can I deal with my stress in another way? Can I take a walk? Can I call a friend? Can I color in my coloring book or whatever you do to work out your stress? If you're avoiding a difficult task and you're going to have a snack to avoid a difficult task, is there a way that you can tackle that task? So asking, what do I need, can help you actually get to the root of some of those emotions and maybe help deal with them in a more healthy and productive way. We need to be taking care of ourselves. And most of us, food is very accessible. And so we use it in a lot of different instances. It may have been one of the first tools that we learned how to use to take care of ourselves. But we need to make sure we are getting rest, expressing our feelings, having sensual pleasure, being heard, being intellectually stimulated and creatively stimulated, and receiving comfort and warmth. So you have to look at all the areas of your life and see if you are being supported and if you are taking care of yourself in all those areas. And then you can start to work on that toolbox. What are some ways you can deal with feelings that don't include food? Walking, movement, dancing, getting out in nature works for a lot of people. Silence, connection with others. So if we can replace the guilt and emotional eating with self-compassion and curiosity and the willingness to find some new coping tools, it will take us a long way on our journey toward intuitive eating. You are going to find lots of self-care questionnaire type things this week because this is a big topic. Thank you so much for all your questions and comments and giving me feedback in the gym. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the gym.